So today, hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about statistics and a little bit about how to build graphs. We begin first with the information that we're going to discuss. We have to collect the data and organize it and then display it. And so we have a few different types of graphs that I'm going to be showing you. So as I said, we have to collect the information, and we do that by asking a question, by taking a survey, poll, or census. And the question you may ask, that is what you're looking for an answer. So you want to make sure it's very clear. And this is called the variable. In this particular question, we're going to say the variable is the flavor of ice cream. And the answers we collect are all considered to be the data. So once you collect all your data, we want to put it together in a table. Now the first column that we see here is the actual flavors, the actual variables, and we have a tally. That's a count on how many people answered into any of those particular flavors. And now we have to fill in the rest of the table. Well, the frequency is just a matter of counting those tallies properly. And we take a total, making sure that it double checks with all the data that we have. Next, we have to calculate the percent frequency. Now, the percent frequency is based on the total. So you have 10 people who like chocolate out of 25 students in all, so that can be converted to 40%. And you would do this likewise for all of the other flavors. Hopefully you remember how to change a fraction to a percentage. And at the bottom of it all, the total had better be 100%. Sometimes when there's rounding involved, you might be off by 0.1. The last column is what is needed if you're going to be making a circle graph. So I'm including it here. And the way we calculate the angle for the central angle of the circle graph is to do a percentage of 360 degrees, which is a full circle. So in other words, the 40% of the circle is 144 degrees. When we do vanilla, 24% of 360 is 86.4, and you do those calculations. Now, sometimes you have to show the calculations in the table or on the side. And the total of all of these degree measures had better be 360 to be a full circle. And now we want to present this information. Well, the easiest way, the most convenient one, is a bar graph. So you have to have some sort of lined paper or grid paper, and we're going to try and record these numbers onto the lines. So you choose a scale that's appropriate. You don't have to label every single line, but do number the lines, not the spaces. And we make the bars that match those amounts, if it was only that fast for you. Now we have to label the stuff. So we put the labels along the bottom. That's the x-axis, and this is going to be the categories or the different flavors. And we have to indicate that the y-axis, okay, is just a label the favorite flavors, and the y-axis represents the frequency. In this particular case, it's the number of students. And it looks like it's complete. What are we forgetting? A title. You have to have a title in all of your graphs. You should also place a source if you're doing an official collection of data. Here's another version of a bar graph. This is done on Microsoft Excel, which takes the data, presents it in a nicer format, color-coded, and you have a little legend on the side representing what these bars are. And as before, you must label the frequency on the vertical axis, that's the y-axis, the categories on the x-axis, and a title. Now let's move to the next kind of graph, and this is the circle graph. This one I'm sure you've seen somewhere. It shows a more descriptive distribution. And a circle graph is only useful if you can actually talk about a total group. For example, here we had a total group of 25 students, and each section represents the portions of the group. So as you can see, I've got the percentages that I took from the original table and the degrees, which I've got labeled on the right-hand side at the top. And these measurements are at the central angle of the circle, and the degree measures as you go around. When you put together this, all of your degree measures have to add up to 360 degrees. There better not be any spaces in between. A legend is necessary if you can't write it directly into the sectors. That's what those pie shapes are called. And as always, you've got to have a title. The cool thing about a circle graph is it quickly demonstrates the most and least popular values. Now, there's another kind of graph, it's called a line graph. And the way this works is similar to a bar graph, except that instead of placing bars in between the tick marks on the bottom, we put a point, a dot, for each particular value. And so this would be the top of each of those bars that we saw before. In a line graph, well, we'd have to put a line. It's called a broken line graph many times because the line is not straight. It's a series of pieces of line segments. And label, always, title, categories along the bottom, frequency on the left, and the flavors. This is a completed line graph, but unfortunately, for this kind of data, it's not appropriate because a line graph is meant to show some sort of progression along time or progress. These flavors don't have a natural progress to them, so a line graph really is not that beneficial for demonstrating the data. A line graph is really good for showing trends along a timeline on the x-axis. Okay, pictograph. A lot of newspapers and magazines like the pictograph because it looks very friendly, easy to understand, and if you turn it sideways or even just the way it looks like a bar graph. You can count the values, you need a legend, and there you go. So in summary, just the reminders about why we do this. We collect all the data, but we need it to be interpreted somehow. And so the way we do that is in the table of values, and then the different types of graphs that you have to be able to prepare. Thanks and good luck.